What's up, everyone? Welcome to my MMA Q&A live stream collab edition. We got Fight Society back on here. My man Wyatt here on the program. So if you guys have any questions for himself or me, let us know. This is your show, guys. We'll talk about whatever you guys want. But first and foremost, Wyatt, how you doing this morning? How's everything?
I am doing fantastic, dude. It's nice to talk to you again. We got a lot of big stuff going on in MMA, and for once, the big things in MMA are not just the UFC. So
yeah, no, I know. It's been crazy. Yeah. It's a lot of news since the last time you and I spoke. I think we spoke at the beginning of 2026. So now, a lot has happened since then. First, let's kind of start with this because it's something I've sort of discussed with my audience a lot in here is the Paramount era so far. Has it felt a little flat? Because I think, there's been last week's card was great. Don't get me wrong. Very fun, fight night card that was a bit surprising as far as some of the, the finishes and all that. But to me, it's felt a little flat so far. What are your thoughts on what we've seen so far in the Paramount era?
I mean, I think it's fallen pretty flat so far, and I think when you have $1.1 billion a year coming into just for the U.S. rights for broadcasting, there's an expectation that gets created that the sport's going to improve, people are going to make more money, and at this point, it doesn't really seem like that's going to be the case, and we haven't really seen that money get reflected anywhere at all. We've got, the BMF card was pretty weak through and through. Kyle Bohalio versus Renner to Ritter as a pay-per-view co-main event, or I guess numbered card is what they call them now. That as a co-main event on a numbered card kind of bothered me. I know that it was supposed to be Ortega and Moicano, and that fell through, but every card so far has felt lackluster, and I've been really critical of the UFC. And there's always the fans that say, "Oh, they give us fights every weekend, ease up on them and stuff." But to me, I think 1.1 billion a year opens you up to some major criticism, and I'm disappointed in the start of the Paramount era.
Yeah, and I think that's totally fair. And I think really what it comes down to for a lot of us is that we've seen cards that have been better in the past, and they've gone out of their way to, make cards better. Like I just give like a small example. Like if you go back to the very first, Paramount event, we lose Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunes. There wasn't even talk of like making a different fight or like having, obviously there was not going to be a replacement. People are crazy. They're like, Norma Dumont will step in. It's like, yeah, what does Amanda Nunes gain out of that? Like, give me a break. The reason she's coming back is to fight Kayla. But at the very least, could you not pull from your roster and like make a new fight? Like, I just feel like back when the UFC would have, really good pay-per-view cards, numbered events as we call them now, they would always like find a replacement if a fight fell out. But now, I've said this many times, and I've used this phrase, I think the UFC has taken advantage of their audience because they know people, no matter what, will still tune into the event, even if it's not as quality. And I just feel like that happens far too often where like maybe a good fight's out or a card's sort of lackluster, and the UFC is just like, well, they're going to watch it anyways because, again, the UFC can do no wrong crowd is very vocal these days. So yeah, I would agree with that, things being a little flat here. We got our first question here from Dana. He says, Ank says that he's fighting soon in Abu Dhabi. Who do you think his opponent will be? So I saw MMA On Point, and I do like MMA On Point a lot, but I saw them, making it out that Whitaker says he has a fight booked, and Ankalaev says he's going to be fighting soon. I highly doubt Robert Whitaker's fighting Ankalaev, especially since Ankalaev, just fought for the title. Whitaker's, new to the weight class. They don't typically, although he is a former champion, they don't typically give him, usually when you move up weight class, they won't give you like a huge name off the bat, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are the options, right? You've got Jan obviously just got booked against Bogdan. Volkan's out there. Ozdemir. Jamal Hill's still injured. Rakic could be a name. I think Rakic and Whitaker actually is the fight to make if you're going to do something at 205 because Rakic has sort of fallen on hard times, and I think for Whitaker it's a good step there. But as far as Ankalaev, it's got to be Khalil Roundtree, I would think. Right?
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, because you think Ankalaev just lost the belt. Yuri's coming off. I'm sorry, Khalil's coming off of a loss to Yuri. That's It seems like the right matchup. Top 5 guys coming off of top 5 losses. It makes sense. But in regards to Rob Whitaker, boy, does 205 make me nervous for Rob Whitaker because we've seen him chinny at 85. And so to see him going up another weight class, I mean, for scientific purposes, seeing his chin against Pereira's left hook, I know Pereira's left the weight class now, but that type of thing is concerning to me. I mean, Rob Whitaker used to fight at 170, and now we're talking about 205.
Yeah, I completely agree. And not only that, it's not like I think Rob's issues for his durability has been due to the weight cut. Like, I know he does cut a bit of weight, but he's not like you said, like a big guy. Like Pereira, obviously sort of the exception to the rule. He's like, I still don't know how he made 85, but he looks fairly comfortable as a heavyweight. If you look at sort of the height and reach against Gane, there's not much of a huge difference there. So yeah, I think I'm with you. Like, I don't think this is going to end well for Whitaker in the new weight class. Maybe like him not cutting weight will maybe improve his durability a little bit. But yeah, I think you got to be careful with Whitaker. But let's be honest, like how many fights were we getting out of Whitaker anyways? I mean, he's kind of at that point in his career where you look at the damage he's taken, all that, like, you know, what are we looking at as far as like longevity at 205? We'll have to see. But yeah, I think Ankalaev's fighting Khalil. I mean, that would make sense to me unless I mean, you never know. Like, I did not expect Paulo Costa and Azamat fighting each other. So maybe they'll throw some wild card in there too. We'll have to see.
Absolutely.
Duke says, what's up, guys? Any truth to the Rebecca Chonky rumors? Have you heard anything? I've not heard anything on that.
Yeah, I haven't.
I'll check in and see if I hear anything about that.
I will say, though, I think you're talking about Chonko, John Pork, right?
Yeah, John Pork, yeah.
I think that, I don't know if this has to do with the UFC or if it has to do with Chonko not getting a fight booked or not being ready. I feel like they totally fumbled his hype from when he first got signed. I mean, we had so much in terms of, hold on. Sorry, I was messing with my mic for a second.
Yeah, it happens.
But I was thinking like, okay, he's a big name, especially after the whole Dylan Dennis brawl at MSG, that we were going to get something booked like quick, but maybe they're saving him for Islam's next card or something like that.
Yeah, and to be fair, sometimes it is a case of where they want to put the Muslim or Dagestani guys on a specific Middle East card, and that's not really their fault. That's the UFC. Again, I say it time and time again. The UFC makes the locations and the dates first, and then they book the fighters. Like, people think it's the other way around. It's like, we got to book this fight, but it's really dependent on location, and in a lot of cases, right? As far as like, you know, using Ankalaev in the Middle East, they use, you know, again, there's certain fighters that they want on those cards. So that's where I kind of give those fighters a bit of slack, although Ramadan, you know, is a thing, and a lot of them will not fight during that time, so that's understandable too. But yeah, I have not heard anything on that, but I will certainly keep tabs on it. Good to hear from you, my good buddy Ed Carbajal over at Spectation Sports. We work together over there. Why is everyone acting like the White House card and Netflix are happening on the same day? Well, I think so the reason it gets tied together is because I think the Netflix card has a bit of that wow factor in terms of like, wow, I didn't expect Ronda Rousey and Gina to fight. I didn't expect Francis to be on that card. I didn't expect Mike Perry and Nate Diaz to fight each other. And does that mean that's going to be a better card? Absolutely not. The White House card is better. Like, let's not get it twisted here, people. But I think what the White House card is missing is that wow factor. You book Pereira and Jones, that's a wow fight. Islam and Topuria, that's a wow fight. This card just looks like a card that we would see just on a strong pay-per-view, what we were sort of promised. And granted, this was Trump saying, 6 or 7 title fights or whatever. Dana even himself said, you know, I believe he said it was going to be the Sphere on steroids. It doesn't really look like that. This looks like what happened with 300, UFC 300, where they're like, yeah, these are a bunch of fights that make sense. Is it a strong card? Yes, but there's no wow factor. So I think that's why the two are getting, put together and compared, because I just think that that's what the White House card is lacking, and that's why people are talking about the Netflix card. Your thoughts on that?
I think that people are comparing them because, like you were saying, it's kind of two mega events within about a month of each other because the MVP card's in May. Mm-hmm. But the UFC White House card, I hate to say it because we do have Topuria, Gaethje, Pereira, and O'Malley all on the same card, and even like some, you know, rising stars as well, like Diego Lopez is on the card. Bo Nickal's a reputable name, but when you look at that card and you consider that we were promised, like you were just saying, 6 or 7 title fights, we were being promised a generational event, like a once in a lifetime event. And to be completely honest, it's nothing close to that. I mean, cool, we got Topuria and Pereira on the same card, but we're in an era with the UFC, which is baffling to me considering the Paramount money that's coming in, that they just can't get the big fights done. Like whether that's Topuria Makhachev, whether that's Jones Aspinall or Jones Pereira. And I remember I saw a report from Ariel Helwani a few weeks ago where he said he's hearing that the UFC is the most disorganized it's ever been and that they can't get big fights done. And I think that this is the first time in a while, at least, maybe ever, that we're seeing some serious doubts in the UFC's capability to put on quality cards and get big fights done.
Yeah. And, you know, even just a small example, and I talked about this last week on the stream, like I applied for UFC Seattle to get media credentials back in December because I was like, as soon as I found out that the card was a thing and like they had it up on the portal, so I applied right away. And usually when you apply for credentials, they'll let you know like maybe the week later or something. It's usually pretty quick. Like I haven't had to wait. I mean, maybe like a long time ago, it would be like a little bit closer to the event, but I feel like over the last couple of years, it's like, yeah, you apply, you'll kind of get an answer. I just got my credentials approved on Monday last week. Not this past Monday, but Monday before. But I was even to the point where I was talking to someone else that's going to be covering the event with me. And I was like, should I just email the UFC? Like, this is kind of weird. We haven't heard yet. Like, we would kind of check in with each other. Just kept saying pending. So the reason I bring this up is because the disorganization thing, that's what kind of reminded me of that. Like, that's a small thing, like getting media credentials approved. And like, it took so long to get done. So I can only imagine like at the top, like how things have kind of looked that way. Then we hear about like how some of the fights were put together. Like, you know, and this has happened a couple times this year where like Kyle Dawkins is booked against Luque and then they pull him off that fight and then they put him against Bo Nickel. But like, what was like I don't get the process in that. Like, why wasn't Kyle, like, to me, if you're building out a fight card, would you not have a couple options in case something falls through? Or maybe they had something and it did fall through. I don't know. But I just think we've seen a lot of that. Like Paulo Costa booked to fight Bruno Ferreira. They put the poster up and everything, and all of a sudden he's not fighting him now. So I just think we're seeing more of that, and that would sort of lead to the disorganization type thing for sure. No way they're giving Rob the #1 guy in the weight class. Yeah, I don't think that's a fight either. But you never know. Again, I wouldn't put anything past the UFC in the Paramount era. So,
yeah, we're in a weird time. We're in a weird time in MMA right now. Because I'm actually, it's a weird thing. I said this in a video recently. We're actually in this weird space where we actually can kind of say that Jake Paul is actually somewhat good for the MMA landscape. Crazy enough. So, I'm not like concerned. It's not like the UFC's going out of business or anything. But I just get concerned about the way that they are beholden to the TKO shareholder value and not the fans. I mean, I every day I grow more and more resentful of them being a public company because it affects how much money they're willing to put. I mean, let's be real. Kyle Dawkins, Bo Nickel. I'm sure Bo Nickel is getting 6 figures per fight. But consider how big of a card the White House card is. Kyle Dawkins versus Bo Nickel is like a budget fight.
Oh, yeah. And it's there for Bo. Like Kyle's just sort of the like part of it. And you know, it's interesting because I spoke to Kyle on Monday and I was kind of like, you know, what's it like? And I say this sometimes to fighters, but it's the truth. Like, what's it like being the guy that the UFC kind of wants you to lose, right? Like, they like Bo Nickel. I think it was very strategic to have Kyle fight him, which I actually think is kind of risky because Kyle's been on quite the tear lately since he's come back to the UFC. And is that like, is like if Bo had lost to like a more like a bigger, like for example, if Bo would have fought Jared Cannonier, that almost would have made more sense in the fact that if Bo won that fight, they could be like, well, he just beat a former title challenger. But like Kyle Dawkins doesn't even have that appeal, and I think he's just as dangerous. You know what I mean? So I think that fight's a bit risky. One other thing I'll just mention about the white card, and we'll keep sort of moving on here, is you know, there's a lot of fights that I think we kind of know how the fights are going to go. Like Nickel's one of the ones that I think could be, you know, go either way. But like, I don't know many people picking Gaethje over Topuria. I think that's another reason why this card is sort of lost a bit of luster, is that the fights, I think for the most part, are kind of predictable. I mean, Pereira and Gane could go either way, I think, but like Rufy's probably going to finish Michael Chandler, right? Like, it's almost like, and O'Malley's probably going to beat Ayman Zahabi. Like they could have given him Umar, they could have given him Corey Sandhagen. No, they people are like, oh, I can't believe they did that fight. I know why they did that fight, because they want O'Malley to get a highlight reel finish, and he's not going to do that against Corey Sandhagen or Umar. With Ayman Zahabi, the same guy a couple fights ago almost got knocked out by Jose Aldo. I think that's what they're banking on. They've sort of had these not squash matches, but fights where I think a lot of people know which way it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to be I think basically the entire card except for Pereira Gane has some pretty predictable outcomes. Like I think that Michael Chandler is getting highlight reel KO'd. I mean, he has no fight IQ. They say, hey, it's actually kind of funny the way the UFC does Michael Chandler at times. It's almost comical because they go, hey, you're not going to get the McGregor fight, but we're going to let you die on the White House card. From like, you know, it's Mauricio Huffy, younger, more skilled, bigger, explosive knockout power. And then the same thing with Topuria Gaethje. I don't see anything. I think that fight's over in a minute and a half. Like Gaethje is so over the hill. He was getting stung in the later rounds by Patty. It's not a good matchup for him with Topuria.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. My prediction is that Fiziev Torres will get booked for Bukaw. Thoughts? Well, at this point, yeah. I mean, this is the problem with Fiziev, is that he's getting up there in age, right? He's 33 now. He'll be actually he just turned 33, but he's getting up there in terms of like he's been in the UFC for a while and he hasn't reached that like contender status. And every time he gets that sort of step up, like the Rufy fight, I thought he looked good early on, and then he ends up losing that one. Like there's just fights where like he hasn't been able to progress. So when you're a veteran like that, I think the UFC just uses you kind of like they've been doing with Gamrot, which is like, we're going to give you someone to build a name off. So I could absolutely see Torres and Fiziev being a thing next. So
yeah, and Torres just pulled out of that Beneil Dariush fight. Now
that's right.
I mean, it's actually, I mean, I know this is the name of the game. They put over new guys, but they are literally trying to kill Beneil Dariush. They match him up with Manuel Torres, and now they got him fighting Kill and Sal killed after getting nuked by BSD at Madison Square Garden. It's a ruthless game, but I'd rather see Torres booked against somebody like Fiziev than somebody like Beneil.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Any word on Bryce Mitchell's next fight? Have not heard a thing.
I see reports saying he's going to fight Toporia's brother, but I don't know how true that is.
That would be interesting. Yeah, maybe that could work. Alexander Toporia's got to keep fighting though too. He's a guy that's lost a bit of luster, like as far as not being that active.
Yeah.
What do you think about Bogdan Jan being booked? I feel like Jan should have fought Azamat and Bogdan Khalil. I don't mind it because, I mean, it ended in a draw. They usually don't do that, actually, especially with like names that aren't as big. They don't usually run it back like that. I don't mind that because Bogdan nearly finished Jan and then he wasn't able to. Can he do it this time? I don't have a problem with it. It's kind of like a stay busy fight. I guess the only thing is like Azamat should not really be fighting Paulo Costa. So that's where maybe they could have, like you were suggesting here, switch things up a bit because I think Azamat's going to win that fight, no problem. Like I know Paulo Costa had a good win in his last fight, but we're in a different weight class now. Azamat is looking better than ever. I mean, he just finished Rakic, so it's going to be tough to say.
Yeah, I don't mind them rematching draws because we watch this sport for conflict and resolution, and a draw is the opposite of getting resolution. So I don't mind rematching draws.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Is the next MVP event better than anything the Paramount era so far? So again, we're talking about two different things. Is the event better as far as fight quality? Absolutely not. I mean, there's definitely UFC cards that are better fight quality. I mean, speaking of predictable fights, Ronda's most likely going to beat Gina in a minute. Francis is going to get maybe 30 seconds in there with Felipe Lins. Jason Jackson will probably win a decision. What are the other fights? Mike Perry, Nate Diaz. I've seen a lot of people saying like Perry's cooked in that fight. I don't know about that. I mean, we're getting a 40-year-old Nate Diaz. It's, is Nate still really viable? I mean, Nate will probably win, but I don't think, like, I've seen a lot of people being like, Nate's going to destroy him. It's like, what are you watching? Like, I just don't understand like where this like Nate being so dominant is, and when Perry's looked quite good in bare knuckle. But yeah,
Perry's active.
Yeah, and Perry's active. That's the other thing too. So to answer your question, MVP has the better wow factor, but the Paramount cards for the most part have been better, although some of them haven't. I mean, they have been kind of like what are we doing here, right? Like there's a fight card coming up, and I was like, why did they put that fight together? Who's Talson Teixeira fighting? He's fighting someone kind of like
he's fighting Pavlovich.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like what are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's other higher ranked guys, but you got Sergey number 3 fighting all the way down. Because isn't Sergey coming off of a win over Waldo Cortez Acosta in Shanghai? Yeah.
And why is Curtis Blades fighting Josh Hokett? Like, again, they're doing this weird matchmaking where, and I spoke to Curtis yesterday and I said, look, like, are you worried they're going to cut you? Like, they could just, because they've just been like that lately, where they're like, they like make these fights that don't really make sense in terms of the rankings. And then they're like, well, you make a lot of money. We'll get like 5 other heavyweights from Contender Series for the price of you. The way they've been doing it. But Curtis isn't worried. He feels like the UFC likes him and that he's, been putting on good fights minus last one. But then he, like he mentioned very vocally in our interviews, he was injured in that fight. That's why he didn't look as good. He had the knee issues, and then he was out after that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Question for you: I heard you say Jason Jackson. Is that a fight on the MVP card that I don't know about?
Yeah. They announced it. Jason Jackson's fighting. Who's he fighting? I'm pretty sure that was the MVP card. Yeah, let me see here. He's fighting Lorenz Larkin on that card.
Huh? Kind of interesting.
Yeah, like just like a throwback, like Bellator fight, kind of.
Yeah, interesting.
I wonder what the deal is there with. I guess PFL is like cool with it.
PFL doesn't have the pull to be telling. I know they got the contract for Jason Jackson, but PFL doesn't have the pull to be telling anybody where they can fight. The UFC,
well, unless it's an exclusive contract, that could be the only thing. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Pereira got re-signed to a new deal, even though he has looked bad in his last 3 fights. But they let Renac. Whoa, are we talking about the same Pereira here? Which Pereira looked bad? Alex Pereira looked bad?
Alex Pereira just knocked out Ankalaev in a minute and a half last fight.
Yeah. But like, I'm not reading this Pereira. By the way, guys, can you please do me a huge favor and like, especially with a common last name like Pereira, tell me which Pereira you're referring to. I assume you're referring to Alex. There's no way you can say he looked bad. He lost one fight with Ankalaev where I think he was dealing with some stuff. He wins the rematch. He's moving up. And you got to remember with the 8-fight deals, what that is that's the UFC protecting their ass. That's why John Jones can't just go box right now. John Jones signed a long contract. Holly Holm did. I know they ended up releasing her, but like this is why they sign these fighters to long-term deals, because guess what? there's nothing stopping Pereira going to bare knuckle or going somewhere else and making more money. So that's why the UFC's paying him a bit more to stick around and be like, we don't want you going to do like an MVP type thing. So that's why he's probably not going to do 8 fights. Let's get real here, right? He's 40 something.
Yeah, I'm seeing the chat saying that it's Michelle Pereira. I think that Duke
Michelle Pereira.
Because Michelle Pereira just got booked against Shara Magomedov for UFC Baku, I think it is, but I don't think he just got a new deal. If he did, I don't know about it.
Yeah, no, I saw the Pereira one yesterday. Here, let me do a quick Google search here. But I saw the Alex Pereira one on Ariel's show yesterday. This is why, again, guys, I mentioned the name specifically. New UFC deal.
But if they're talking about Michelle Pereira, I mean, he has
no, he's right. Michelle Pereira did resign. Okay, I missed that this morning. My bad.
Wow.
Yeah. See,
okay. You do backflips in the cage, they'll resign you.
But that's, I mean, this is it though. Like he's been, I guess they determine him exciting. So, yeah, I would say that. That's what it comes. That's why Tai Tuivasa is still on the roster and Jailton Almeida isn't. I mean, there's one heavyweight that's really good. There's one that isn't. Right.
Man.
So
yeah, the Tai Tuivasa thing. I wonder what kind of dirt do them and the Tafa brothers have on the UFC. I
Some
swear.
sort of thing. But it's probably because they keep going to Australia and New Zealand and all that, and so they it's like a commodity for them. It's like, you know, it reminds me a bit of like how people are upset with like the Malott Burns fight in Canada. But I'm like, if you're Canadian, seeing a Canadian fighter in the main event, regardless of Malott and what you think of him, is like kind of cool. So like that's why they're catering. Again, they're catering it to the event. This goes back to what I say. Like Mike Malott's not headlining that card if Mike Malott is from Boise, Idaho. You know what I mean? Like it's because he's from Canada and they need a Canadian to headline the card. So that's kind of why they're doing it up here. Are you guys excited for Nate versus Mike? Oh yeah, sorry, I'll get your comment in a sec. I got to remember to kind of bounce off things. I'm so used to just doing this on my own. Are you guys excited for Nate versus Mike? Because Nate is 41. His last fights have been emoting and saying that every fight you just ran out of time or some crap like that. I mean, again, that's another like, is that like a high level fight right now? No, in my opinion. I think that's a cool fight. That's probably the best fight on the card because at least like there's some intrigue of like who could win. But I guess I'm just like, yeah, I'll watch it because it's like a good style fight, but like, yeah, it's not like a need to rearrange my schedule type fight. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind it. If we're talking name value, it's a cool fight, and Nate's just here to make money. What's interesting to me about the Nate and Mike Perry fight is that I would have to imagine that if McGregor's going to come back, they wanted to get him a somewhat winnable opponent like a Nate Diaz trilogy or something like that. And so it makes me think, like, is the UFC lowballing people to the point where Nate's going off and taking several $1 million to fight on this MVP card, as opposed to maybe taking $1 million to fight McGregor or something like that? Because they got to be lowballing people. Because I even heard from like a manager friend that Gable Steveson was in LA when they were doing the MVP press conference, and that makes me think that he was meeting with MVP and not talking to the UFC. So it'd be crazy after, you know, the John Jones ties and all of that, that even they might be lowballing somebody that could be saving the heavyweight division at one point, like Gable Steveson. The whole, like I mentioned earlier, the whole public company thing where they're worried about the shareholder value and stuff, it's kind of like killing the sport in some ways.
It's ruining it. Oh, 100%. Yeah, and that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we've heard of heavyweights. Who was the guy that beat Pereira in kickboxing? They lowball him after winning on Contender Series. Who was the Rico Verhoeven? He's a guy that should be in the UFC, but they obviously can make more money in boxing. Like if they really cared, they would do it. And that's another problem that I have with UFC is, again, they're cutting all these heavyweights, but they're not replacing them. Like you bring back Tanner Boser, like I think that's a cool story. I'm happy to see Tanner get another opportunity, but like, you know, that's not like a needle mover like a Rico Verhoeven is. So that's sort of, you know.
One thing about Rico, it's crazy to think. So he's fighting Usyk at the Pyramids of Giza. That's a 8-figure payday. We're talking tens of millions for that type of fight. And I just imagine being Rico, knowing that you have this offer. And apparently it was supposed to be against Anthony Joshua at first, and it ended up being Usyk. But I'm just thinking of Rico having a $10-20 million offer on the table from the Saudis to box. And then Hunter Campbell calls and goes, hey, so we can do 40 and 40 to fight Derek Lewis. Like, it's a crazy thought that the UFC has this assumption that people are like, oh yeah, we're the UFC, they're going to take less money to fight for us, when there's very clearly MVP, Riyadh season. There is, if you're a big name, places to go get paid. If you're a prelim guy, you're kind of stuck. Yeah,
I agree. Very well said. We kind of already answered this. Does Teixeira deserve the Pavlovich fight? Absolutely not. No.
That Tai Tuivasa fight with Teixeira was awful. There's no way you deserve an eight spots up in the ranking jump after that.
Yeah, totally agree. KSW champ. Yeah, Pernes is expected to fight on Netflix. Smart move before going to the UFC, get the exposure. Maybe the UFC offers him a better contract. I agree. Doesn't hurt to get on that card for sure. Sphere wasn't even a good card. Totally agree. Out of all the Fight Night main events so far, which in your opinion shouldn't have been a main event to begin with? Fight Night cards.
Moicano versus Chris Duncan is booked as an Apex main event right now.
Yeah. And they're teammates. Like, they both train at ATT. I just talked to, who did I talk to yesterday? I talked to Dakota Bush yesterday because he's fighting for PFL. And yeah, I was just kind of saying, like, they just have to train on like separate parts of the gym, which is just super weird. Like, you couldn't find someone else to fight each other. I don't know. It just seems weird.
And for Moicano, going from numbered, or at least he was booked for a numbered card co-main against Brian Ortega. Now it's Apex main event against a teammate that's unranked. It's a big step down. I would have I understand it's a fight, it's a paycheck, it's your job. But if I was Moicano, I'd have a hard time getting motivated for that fight, considering what just fell out. Yeah,
totally agree. How do you think Ant Khalil goes? Ant decision. I don't think Khalil knocks him out.
Yeah, no, I got Ant Khalil.
When is UFC booking Cortez versus Kong? UFC Macau makes sense for that scrap. No idea. If I hear anything, I'll let you know. But I guess that fight makes sense, or that's the rumor I've heard as well.
Yeah, I guess.
I really hope MVP becomes a legitimate competitor to the UFC. Will do wonders for the fans and the fighters. It's going to depend on the business side of things, which I don't know enough about, if I'm being honest. I mean, I do know that I've seen a lot of promotions come and go in my time of watching MMA, for all your IFLs, Afflictions, Elite XC, Shine fights back in the day when they did that tournament. What's the Yama pit fighting? Like, I've seen it all, and just a lot of them have failed, and I hope it does well. I think it's good that, Jake Paul's involved, and obviously he's a business guy and knows his stuff when it comes to all that. I mean, he's been very widely successful. But yeah, I don't know. Someone, who's I talking to? I was talking to someone about this yesterday, and they're like, I think MVP will do well, but it's not going to be a competitor to the UFC because they're just not going to do the frequency of events. Like, they might do like let's get real. Like, if we're lucky, we maybe get one more event from them this year, but they're not really known for it, right? We don't know yet. We don't know what the frequency is going to be.
As far as I know, they only have plans for this one event. I saw some people talking about that they are interested in Gable Steveson versus Ngannou, but there's no like plans for that. And they don't have to do a UFC schedule of like 45 shows, but if they could at least do like a show every 6 to 8 weeks, I feel like that would at least be enough to draw some big names. But the problem with MVP, and the same thing with a lot of, up and comers, is there's really not a culture that people care about. Like, people don't necessarily care about the lineage of a PFL belt, and especially when they brought in like the super fights thing and all of that. But people care about like UFC, despite being cheap when it comes to paying their fighters, despite being, a little bit shady in their business practices, they do have a fan culture that will have people watch no matter what. And MVP, I don't know, maybe they do like some sort of BMF type of belt for Diaz Perry, but I just don't think that the casual fan will follow along for long without like a culture like belts and things like that. Yeah. And if you're going to do that, that also, belts and culture, that also comes with frequent events. You can't just take one big swing and be like, all right, cool, we're UFC's competitor now.
Yeah, no, I completely agree about that. It'll be interesting. And again, it's good for the fighters if that there is other options here. By the way, I don't think they'd ever do Gable Steveson and Ngannou like that. If you're Gable Steveson, if you're first round, which is his management group, I would not do that fight, because if he loses, you lose a lot of your luster, right? The whole appeal of him is that he's undefeated. I think you got to give him fights up, and maybe he does win that. Well, I mean, it could be the opposite though. Maybe he wins that, and it's like, holy shit, this guy really is that good. But I don't know, man. Francis is up, and he's old, but he still can friggin' knock dudes out, and that's like going from whatever. I don't even remember the last guy that Gable fought to Ngannou. That's a pretty big step up, right?
Yeah, so. I'm putting something in the private chat. Don't say it on the stream. But it's about Gable.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I'll have a look. I mean that, yeah, I get it, but yeah,
if he wants a payday, if he wants a payday, it makes sense. But it's all long term.
I was going to say long term, you could make more. I think just by, well, maybe not. I mean, you never know. That's true. It's a lot. I wouldn't want to be a fly in that room. That'd be
that's just conjecture, though. What I just told you, so you never know.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that kills the White House card for me is most of the fights are easy to predict. Yeah, we kind of mentioned that as well. Garcia Lopez is also close too. Would not shock me if Steve Garcia won that fight. That dude can crack, man. He's there's
actually a good storyline. He was friends with Charlie Kirk, and with Charlie Kirk getting assassinated and all that stuff. It's actually a good storyline if he goes and gets a win on the White House card, because he'll talk about Charlie Kirk and all that stuff. So it's a good storyline. I actually totally get why he's on the card. And on top of that, him versus Diego Lopez is a banger fight.
Yeah, totally agree. They should have Cannonier on the card, a former vet. They didn't care about any of that. Neil Magny's a military veteran. There's a whole bunch of guys that fit that bill, and they just ignored it. Which they should bring back the Fight for the Troops show. I don't know why they got rid of that. That to me is great. I know people get weird about the military, especially now with what's going on in Iran. But I've always been one of those guys. Like you see a military member at a sporting event, you stand up, you give them. Braver than us, that's really what it boils down to, regardless of what you think of war or not. Who are some other free agents that could be on the Netflix card? I don't know. Like I thought Jason Jackson was still with PFL, so I'd have to look. I'd have to ask around.
We're probably getting regional names the rest of the card. We're probably getting regional or like B-level names.
By the way, I feel like every one of these streams, I got to talk about some fake news that I keep seeing circulating around. One of the things is this poster with Muhammad Mokaev and Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius Johnson came out and did a whole video on this saying, I'm not coming out of retirement to fight anyone. So whoever's posting that, you're an idiot. And I feel bad that you didn't get enough hugs as a kid, because obviously you're trying to get some attention online. That's the only explanation I could think to make up something like that, which is crazy.
You know how we talk about like hate content being what, certain people's like strategy to grow? There's also this whole like niche of guys that post fake fight announcements. It's the most annoying thing. They'll be like Chimaev versus Yuri Prohaska when there's like no reports of it,
Yeah. Or I did a whole video on this about the Chimaev and Yuri thing and how that was reported. And again, it was reported from one side, and maybe there were some talks about it, but it never didn't come out. And my big issue with it is not even that the dude got it wrong. It's the fact that like there was no accountability after it's done. And that's the thing that he doesn't understand, is that like he won't get in trouble. If Mike Heck gets a news story wrong, or Nolan King, they're going to get in shit from their company, because that reflects bad on the company. You get something wrong as like a content creator, who gives a shit? Who's your boss? Nobody. So there's less risk doing that. And but that's my problem, is that you can't lump them in with everyone else. There's more to lose for the other guys.
Yeah, true. True.
Win collab. Thank you, Gabriel. I think both Umar and Corey would be, of course. Yeah. And that's another phenomenon I've seen as of late, is the O'Malley fans coming out of the woodwork being like, Corey just can't stop talking about O'Malley. It's like, dude, it's a logical question. Like a lot of us felt like O'Malley and Sandhagen made the most sense with the rankings and all that, and the White House card. This is the perfect time to do that fight. And his fans are getting so defensive, because I interviewed Corey and he basically kind of went off and been like, I don't think the fight's ever going to happen. Like, this was a prime opportunity. Like, very reasonable response. But like, these O'Malley fans think that like, oh, he's trying to do some strategy to like get the fight. It's like, no. We just want a good fight. Like, what do you guys not understand? Like, you could pull thousands of MMA fans, and if you gave them all the options of Sean O'Malley to fight next, Ayman Zahabi would be at the bottom of the list. And I like Ayman a lot. He's a good dude, good for his 7-fight win streak. A lot of us did not see that coming. I mean, no disrespect towards him, but he's the easiest opponent of that bunch. And a lot of us just want to see the best fight the best. And we need to quit doing this whole, like, get overly sensitive about, someone wanting to fight O'Malley. Like, again, we just want to see good fights. So.
Yeah, they say the best fight the best, and I'm not saying that Ayman Zahabi is not a world-class competitor. He absolutely is. He's on a 7-fight win streak in one of the toughest weight classes, but they are protecting O'Malley. They've done this since day one, and I'm an O'Malley fan. I think he's a fun guy to watch. I watch his YouTube sometimes. I think he's an interesting guy, but they absolutely are protecting Sean O'Malley, because the Corey Sandhagen, not only is it a tall, lanky striker that can give O'Malley problems, it's a guy, Corey can wrestle too. It's a tricky fight for O'Malley. And so it's very obvious, the Umar fight, the Corey fight, those are fights that only happen for O'Malley if he gets the belt back. And, because he's going to have to beat a Marab. He's going to have to beat a Peter Yan. I think the Corey Sandhagen ship has sailed at this point in O'Malley's career.
Totally. Yeah. No, I agree. And and then you just look at the fact that because of them making O'Malley's a hobby, you now have Umar and Corey waiting out for fights. Like, who are they going to fight now? Like, it's like, I think Corey, from what we talked about in our interview a couple weeks ago, is I think he thinks he's going to get Mario Batista. That's a rematch. They fought years ago. Batista fought in his debut. He ended up losing. That fight kind of makes sense. But like, who's Umar going to fight? Like, realistically, whoever Umar is going to fight, he's going to be a big favorite regardless of who it is. Like who's like David Martinez? Like, who even like deserves that fight? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right.
I think one of those guys is going to, and it probably will be Corey, because Umar's got that Team Khabib privilege, but I think somebody's going to have to bite the bullet and take a Peyton Talbot fight. They're going to try to build.
Well,
Peyton
I think they're going to do.
Talbot
I think, you know what my prediction is? They're going to do. Well, it could be one of the two guys. I think they're either going to do Talbot and Chito Vera. Chito Vera is going to fight one of these up and comers. It's either going to be Raul Rosas Jr. or it's going to be Peyton Talbot. And the Raul fight, same management, right? So maybe that's a bit easier to put together. I don't know, but
both bad fights for Chito too. Chito just his. I feel like
he hit his
fight
peak
IQ
and
so low.
Yeah, and you hit his peak, and it hasn't. The problem with Cheeto is a lot of these guys have this issue. It's like he's not really elite at one particular thing. He's a good overall fighter. That's why his fights are close and he's tough to finish. But he doesn't excel in one particular area. So that's where, like, you know, again, he's in these close fights with like an Amin Zahabi when he really shouldn't be, right? But it's just the way his skill set is. Who do you guys think Conor will fight in his return, especially since Nate is fighting? He's never fighting Nate. I really believe that, because I think it's too much of a headache. It's already a headache to book Conor. To try and get Nate back in the UFC, to me, would be a headache too, just with the money and all this stuff. I don't know who Conor's fighting. I really thought they were going to do Chandler. So
yeah, I thought so too. Maybe I have a sneaking suspicion that given how log jammed the top of 55 is, I mean, I could see that. This might sound like a pipe dream, but Oliveira at 170 for the BMF, I think they could sell that. I don't think it necessarily goes very well for Conor, but Conor's coming back at 170. There's no way he comes back to 155. Yeah. And so you think about that, it's like, okay, it's probably a lightweight that comes up to 170 to fight Conor. I could see it being Charles. I don't know, maybe what's a winnable fight for Conor in 2026? I mean, there isn't
Thompson.
many.
That's the name that came to mind right away. He's in his 40s now. He's taken some damage, although he did look good against Bonfim, and actually thought he won that fight. But Thompson seems like the guy. I know McGregor would be undersized, but that to me, I think could be. I mean, I don't think he'd knock out Thompson, but I think he could outstride. Like, he could land the better shots, and
no takedown threat from Thompson either.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they'd want a striker. Like, we were talking, Jake and I, Gerber and I were talking about this last week with the Prates fight. Like, I don't know if that was ever a thing. Because, like, you want to ruin Conor's career. You fight a better version of him. And at this point anyways, right? Like, Prates would be the hits harder than McGregor, I would think. Because that's the thing with McGregor. He doesn't have any, other than I think Cerrone, he doesn't really have any stoppage wins at 170, right? Yeah.
No,
mostly been decisions.
Not against an actual 170 pounder either.
Yeah, because the Cerrone one was, and that was a TKO. It wasn't like a flat knockout or whatever. So,
yeah.
Hot take, 328 is better than the White House. 328 is a good card. Is it better than the White House? I mean, I think Pereira gone alone is probably, well, Chimaev Strickland's going to be good, though. Like, just the build-up and everything. I don't know. That's tough.
I know that Khamzat Strickland's a big fight, but I think the Miami card is more stacked from top to bottom than 328.
Yeah, let's have a quick look as we'll bring it up on the screen here, because they moved Brady and Buckley. Man, did Sean Brady get a break by fighting Buckley in a smaller cage, and then also 3 rounds, which I think favors him a little bit more. Oh, yeah. Brady and Buckley, King Green and Stevens. It's like, what? Like, what?
That is a main card fight on a numbered card in 2026. That drives me crazy. That's an Apex co-main.
Do you remember Dana White got Jeremy Stevens out of jail to fight one week? So, I mean, he's got some dirt on the UFC or something. I don't know how he's continuing to get fights. Like, don't get me wrong, if that fight's in like MVP, for example, that would be like a fun fight. But like on the UFC, it's not really UFC worthy. I don't mind the rematch here. Volkov and Waldo will be a great fight. I mean, Volkov Waldo, like, that's not like that's a good fight for the division. Is that like a fight of the year right there? Not really.
That doesn't feel like a numbered card co-main to me. It actually kind of is in the same vein as Kyle Bohalio, Renner de Ritter being a pay-per-view co-main.
Yeah, I actually think 327 is the better card. But I think, but saying that, I think Chimaev Strickland is the better fight on both those cards. Yeah, because like, again, it might not. I mean, Chimaev might go there and destroy Strickland, but I just think like the build up, the excitement, the grudge match, all that stuff. That's the selling points for me. They're gonna have to hire the most security they've ever hired in UFC history, more than Jones and Cormier and all this stuff, because like these two, like they'll go on site. They're both like. It could happen, and you don't want to ruin that fight if that does end up happening. So,
yeah, Chimaev Strickland is the most compelling fight booked right now to me.
Yeah, big time. White House card and probably 2 Americans winning out of 6 on the card, which 2 will face each other. That's true. Yeah, that's a good point, Zach. Hope you're well, Zach. Love those shirt designs you had the other day. Do you think Khamzat finishes Strickland? He could, yeah. I mean, he couldn't finish DDP though, right? And again, like DDP and Strickland. Forget about the second fight, because Strickland was clearly injured in that fight, and we saw the difference of him fighting Hernandez in how he looked in that fight and how aggressive he was than the second DDP fight. The first DDP fight was close. Like, almost, I think Strickland and DDP are kind of on the same level, to be honest. So Now, saying that, styles make fights. Strickland's going to look way better against Chimaev than DDP did, because DDP, just the style matchup was just like not a good fit.
Yeah.
So I think Strickland will look better, but could he finish him? Yes, but again, Strickland's tough to finish, right? I think only knockout loss at middleweight is Pereira. And then he was knocked out at welterweight by Zaleski, spinning back kick. And then I think he was submitted by someone earlier in his career. Can't remember who. It was like one of those like long time ago fights. So anyways, the point. Oh no, he's never been submitted. Never mind. So that's what I mean. It's gonna be tough.
As long as Strickland can weather that early storm, and it's every round with Chimaev. It's that first like 20 seconds where Chimaev is aggressively shooting a deep double. If Strickland can survive that and keep the fight on the feet for 2 to 3 minutes of 3 rounds, essentially, he would win the fight. But it's just really hard to pick against Khamzat.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's keep the questions going. I know we're behind a little bit. Is 327 better than the White House? No, it's not.
Not really.
I mean, the quality of it is probably, well, no, not even. No, White House card's better. Not going to do that. Thoughts on Adesanya Pifer? Going to be doing. So I already did the early look preview on that. I believe that's up on the channel already. I will do the preview show Monday as well. I think Izzy takes it, and I basically, again, I'm well aware of the power that Pifer possesses, and I'm well aware that like Imavov did not hit Izzy with that big of a shot, and he ended up going down. So that's a bit concerning. But we've seen this fight play out a couple of years back, and that was Jack Hermanson and Pifer. And when he couldn't finish him, he ran out of gas, and he was able to take over. And you look at that 5-round experience that Adesanya has. If he can weather that early storm, there's no question that he wins this fight, I think. So I don't know. It's a tough one, but I could also see Pifer going out there and knocking him out, and people being like, "I told you so." And it's like, no. I'm aware that that could happen, but I just think that based off if you put their 2 careers together, I still think Izzy's got a little bit left. That's all I'm saying. So.
Yeah, I got Izzy in that fight because I mean, like, a very short breakdown of it is that Pifer to me is like middleweight Josh Emmett. Like when the going gets tough or he gets tired, he just starts spamming those big meaty overhands. And Adesanya it's not like Pifer has Imavov level boxing. Imavov has quick hands and some power. I think Pifer is going to get calf kicked and jabbed at range for 5 rounds.
Yeah, totally agree. Was Michelle Pereira share a bullet confirmed? I believe it was. Yeah. Who do you take in that fight? I mean, 2 guys that have incredibly bad fight IQ. Like, maybe I'm gonna
go Shara, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even then, like, is he that much better of a strike? Dude, I remember watching, was it last year when Marc-Andre Barriault like broke his nose, and you're like, is he gonna pull this off? Like, or sorry, I think Barriault's nose got broke. I forget what happened in that fight, but I just remember Barriault looking good, and I'm like, this is how you're looking against Marc-Andre Barriault? Like, what's going on here? So
he was supposed to be like the second coming of Jesus in the middleweight division. I remember.
And then they booked that MVP fight for whatever reason, which is stupid.
Yeah, how do you feel, not to detract from the questions, but how do you feel about the UFC's treatment of Michael Venom Page? Because he complains about fighter pay, and now he's booked against a former teammate in Sam Patterson. And
the other thing that people keep leaving out that I heard was that apparently he was offered Amosov, and he turned it down, and it's like, you can't really be doing that at your age and all that. So that makes the Patterson thing a little bit more understandable, that they're like, okay, he's not playing ball with us. If you want to fight on the card, fight this guy that's knocked out a bunch of dudes, and maybe it'll happen. But by the way, I think MVP wins that fight all day. Like, I just don't like, if your one path to victory is a knockout against a guy who's pretty tough to knock out and really good striker, I don't think that's going to go so well. I think MVP probably wins a decision. So
yeah, I hear you on that. Hey, good on him for turning down the Amosov fight. I know it's not ending well for him because he gets booked against Patterson, who's a former teammate and all that, but Amosov is a tough matchup for anybody in that division.
He was my dark horse in the weight class, but he's got to fight in order to live up to that dark horse moniker. Let's keep rolling on here. We got about 15 minutes left. I got to do an interview. Should Josh Emmett retire? He should, yeah, but he won't.
Yeah, he's probably got a pretty paycheck if he wants to stick around and get knocked out a few more times, I guess.
Patty Max next or Patty Hooker? Patty Max is the bigger fight. Probably do that, but
Patty Max is bigger. Patty Hooker's more winnable for Patty.
Yeah, and Patty Hooker, there's that grudge match. I think that's, again, something you don't see too often.
Yeah.
Does Imavov fight the winner of Sean Hamzat or really need one more fight? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with him. But I will say this, and I've said it many times on the stream, Imavov has himself to blame a little bit for this, because it's not like he tried to sell that fight with Chimaev. That was part of the problem too. They were coming out and talking about how respectful they were. There's a way to be respectful and still want to fight and still get your name out there. I counted maybe 1 or 2 interviews he did. He doesn't speak English. Like, I know these things suck to talk about, and it shouldn't be like this, because it shouldn't just be based. You just go do your job and fight and get rewarded. But like, this is part of it now, and I just think that like Chimaev and Imavov not only did not sell the fight, I think they did a bad job even like suggesting it should happen. Right. So again, if people want to talk about poor Imavov, he's got himself to blame a little bit for this, unfortunately. I mean, you got to sell the fight, and he just didn't do that. He did it after the fact. He's like, oh, I should be fighting him. It's like, he's talking smack on Strickland. It's like, now you just look like the guy who, missed the train, so to speak. So
true.
What's up, Izzy? Who do you think will fight the winner of Yuri Alberg?
Yeah, it's kind of a dead division. There's not much outside.
Azamat, if he beats Paulo Costa, I could see them doing that.
I feel like the UFC in a perfect world gets Paulo Costa to win that fight. I don't know if he does. I don't think he does, to be honest. But if Paulo Costa wins, he's getting a title shot probably.
Mentioned John Silva might be fighting Volk weeks back. John Silva just confirmed it. It doesn't mean anything, dude. Again, a fighter can say whatever they want. We've had fighters say that this fight's done and it's happening. That doesn't mean anything until the UFC confirms it. They're going to wait and see what happens this weekend, is my understanding. And then they'll probably end up giving it to John Silva. So, yeah, that's fine. But I'm just saying that, like, right now at this very moment, nothing's confirmed, guys. I don't know how many times I have to say this on the stream. Fighters are not good resources for fights happening. I mean, we can talk about it, right? Like, people got mad at me for doing that video on Armin saying he has a date next. I mean, that's something. If he's saying that, I tend to believe the date's booked. We can talk about him actually booking a UFC fight. That's what I did. And people are like, it's clickbait. And I'm like, it's not clickbait. Can't we just discuss the fact that Armin's finally taking a UFC fight? Yeah. That's not, jiu-jitsu, RAF. Like, that's something to talk about. Are you guys ready for Volk Diego 3 and Jan O'Malley for the belts? I don't know if Jan's going to fight Merab, because people just assumed with O'Malley getting the Zahabi fight, but I think they could still do both, where O'Malley beats Zahabi and then they still give him the Jan fight. I don't know what's going on there. True. So, easy KO for Jason Jackson. Jackson doesn't really KO guys, though, really, does he? I saw it, unfortunately, and I like Jason Jackson a lot. Just really, really good dude. I remember him fighting in Titan FC back in the day, and I spoke to him. But yeah, you look at some of the wins he's had. Yeah, he knocked out Ray Cooper and Amosov. I forgot he knocked out Amosov. Actually, that wins age quite well. But the fight before the Amosov one, the Douglas Lima fight, I was at. It's either that fight or no. What fight was I at? Was it that fight or was it? Yeah. That was the last time MMA was in Washington State prior to UFC Seattle. That was the Tacoma card. I was at that event. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Jason Jackson and Douglas Lima. Totally forgettable.
It doesn't Amosov, isn't that KO loss to Jackson his only loss?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, it was Michelle Pereira. We determined that. I think the White House clearly Islam Ilya, but Ilya turned down the offer due to low pay by his manager. Well, yes and no, but again, I still wonder, like, so the UFC was going to let Ilya go up to the thing that people haven't confirmed yet is, like, that had to have been at 170. Yeah. There's no way Islam's going to 55 again. He's pretty much said as much. So it would just be very weird for the UFC to let a guy move up when he just won the belt in another weight class, right? Like, it's not even like he's been at 55 for a while and then he's moving up. It's like, no, he just had one fight at 55. Well, I guess he's had two. Some actually guy in the comments can be like, you fought Jai Herbert at 155. I know that. I'm saying that he just won the belt and then he's going to be moving up. I don't know. So that's the part where I don't know. I don't know what to believe. There's a lot of, but I will believe that there was more of an Ilya Islam thing than a John Jones thing. I do believe that. Yeah. So Ty's probably just kept because he used to do the shoey, maybe. Nate is old. Mike Perry's career in MMA isn't great at all. Correct, but Mike Perry's still been active.
Hey, if we're being honest, neither of their careers are great. They both got, like, Nate's like 21-15. Mike Perry's 14-9. So neither of them, I know they're both very well known, but neither of them are some, insane high level MMA fighter, especially at this point in their careers.
Off topic, what gas prices where you are? Mine's $4 per gallon. So we do it by the liter here in Canada, and it's in Vancouver, where I live specifically. And we have some of the highest gas prices in all of Canada. That's actually why I go to the US to get my gas, because it's actually cheaper. But I filled up yesterday here in Vancouver at, I think it was $2.07, which is like crazy high here per liter. So I'm paying, like, for half a tank, I think I paid like $60 for my truck. So
California's got crazy taxes on the gas. I filled up my gas last night and it was $5.29 a gallon. And I drive a Jeep, so it's a bigger tank, but from dead empty, my full tank was $120.
UFC got their bag. They don't care. No truer words have been said. Someone should just make a shirt out of that. The Australia card might be the last we see Ty in the octagon. If he loses, UFC should cut him. Dude, we said this like 5 fights ago. Ty actually was cut, I think, and then somehow they brought him back or something. I don't know. So I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, he's that's the state of the heavyweight division.
You meant Artem. No, I said Artem. I said the guy who fought on Contender Series. Not Rico didn't fight on Contender Series, dude. I said Artem.
Oh, yeah. Vakitov. Yeah, Artem Vakitov.
Yeah, Vakitov. That's who I was talking. I was talking about two different people here. The Rico thing and Artem thing separate. I was talking in general of how they've turned down heavyweights. So I mentioned Artem first, and then I brought up the Rico thing after, since we were talking about that. I know Rico didn't fight on Contender Series, guys. Come on. Give me a break here. Love the actually people, man. Speaking of fighter pay, Colby comes out and says Islam and Ilya are making $15 million per fight, and he isn't making that much. I don't know what they're making. I just did a video on Colby, as I'm sure you guys saw, and I had this idiot like tag Colby and be like, look at this worm talking smack. I'm like, dude, all I'm saying is that like he's not going to come back and fight. Like the fact that he made this stipulation at 170 just shows that he's not really serious about taking this fight. Because 2 months ago, I have an interview that I showed in this video of him talking to the Shimon saying I'm permanently moving up to 85. So what changed? It's just moving goalposts. He's not going to come back and fight. That's the real thing. Or they're offering him guys that he wants to. Yeah.
Yeah. He said that they want him to wait for the winner of Burns and Malott. That feels so weird. I think Colby's retired.
He's making excuses. This is the thing I said to people. They're like, yeah, because someone told me that same thing, that they're waiting for him to fight the winner of Burns and Malott. Why would you not do Colby and Malott in Winnipeg? That would have made perfect sense. The all Canadian guy that they've been pushing against, quote unquote Donald Trump's favorite fighter. It just doesn't, I don't understand that part of it. Why wouldn't they just book that? Gilbert, like Colby hasn't fought since December of 2024. And here's the other thing, guys, like this is what the Colby fans keep losing sight of. Where was this push to fight for the last year? There was none of that. No media. He wasn't doing interviews with me. He was barely doing interviews with Dennis. Like I think Dennis just interviewed him recently and then maybe like one before RAF, but like he was doing no media. The media he was doing was political. And then they would ask him like, when are you going to come back and fight? And be like, I think Paddy Pimblett would be a good fight. It's like, he's not even in your weight class.
Yeah.
Like this is what I mean. It's not serious. Like to a casual MMA audience that's watching Patrick Bet-David and hearing Colby talk about his next fight, they're like, oh yeah, that Paddy fight could make sense. But to the rest of us, it's like, that makes no sense at all. So.
Yeah, I saw Colby at RAF because I went out there for.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, good job on that, by the way. That was cool. You filming all that stuff.
Oh, thank you. And Mike Heck. Mike Heck's the MMA fighting guy, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So he was about to interview Colby, and so I didn't want to like come over and like squash their stuff or anything. But I was like, "Yo, Colby, you retired or no?" And he said, "No, fuck that shit, dude. I'm still fighting." And I don't know. Colby's quite the character, but that's what he said in a 5-second conversation. So I don't necessarily believe him.
Yeah,
especially now. Do you see he went on that kid Neon's stream?
Yeah,
and
Neon's stream.
He went on like scorched earth on the UFC yesterday. So I really wouldn't be surprised if I think he's a full-time RAF wrestler and poker player at this point.
That's what I think too, for sure. You guys know why Mick Parkin is inactive? No idea. Haven't heard anything. At this point, Hamzat's cardio has been proven to be good in his last fight. People shouldn't assume he gasses.
After he starts training with TJ Dillashaw's strength and conditioning coach.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's true too. Sam Calavita or whatever. Yeah, I know. That's true. Check the piss test. He wasn't made to work in his last fight, and he looked exhausted by the end of the DDP fight. Oh, you're talking about the Chimaev and DDP fight. Any chance Gable gets on the Netflix card? Maybe. Wouldn't put it past him, but I don't know. It'll be tough to say. 328 press conference is going to be Jerry Springer version of Leonard Magnitude debate from Community. I haven't seen that debate, but it's going to be crazy is what you're trying to say here. Okay, we got like 5 minutes left. We're going to do like rapid fire. I'll just answer. Wyatt can answer here. We'll go through this. Yeah. Kyle Dawkins should actually beat Bo. I think he can for sure. Especially 100%. If the odds are the way they are. I'm putting some money on Kyle for sure.
Yeah, I'm not sold on Bo.
They carefully kept Strickland and Bryce off the White House card. That's true. Yeah, Curtis Blades, we were kind of debating this yesterday in our interview. Curtis Blades was like, I don't know why they didn't put Chimaev and Strickland on the card. And I'm like, I can give you a big reason why. It's too much of a headache. They don't want to deal with that with politicians. So, what's worse, protecting O'Malley with Sahabi or giving him a third title shot? The third title shot.
Yeah,
for sure. Really want Mario Batista, Peyton Talbot, but I don't know if they do that yet. Could still be an option. They're both free out there. I know that Peyton's not fighting Corey, though. He admitted so in my interview, which is good.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Conor is fighting, but I would love Conor Islam. That would be nuts. That build up.
Conor gets smoked by Islam.
Yeah, totally agree. What's next for Manon? I don't know. What's she even doing right now? I guess because her last fight was Jasmine, right? She won that fight. That was in Vancouver.
Which was last May, I think, right?
No. That was October.
Oh, October. In the Allen and RDR.
Yeah. I only know that because it was here in Vancouver. So
gotcha.
Do you think Dean the Great should try MMA? Seems like he should be doing sport, talking to Bobby Green and Tiki like that. I don't think he needs to. His brand is being the Jack Dotery of whatever combat sports, I guess, just agitating people. People like that deserve the worst in life, though. Armin should fight on Hamzat's card. No reason he shouldn't. I agree.
Maybe that's a co-main event. Maybe that could be a new co-main event for that card.
Rebecca Chanko is rumored for 328. If the fight ends up being true, do you think that fight should be on the main card instead of Green Stevens? Yeah, of course. I mean, that's an obvious answer. Yes, of course, that's the answer. The main event of 328 isn't intriguing. Hamzat shoots for takedowns immediately like he does every single time, predictably dull to me. But think of the build-up, though, Carl. We have not had a grudge. Name me the last grudge match we've had in the UFC. Like two people that generally hate each other, like very much hate each other. We just haven't had it in a while. Like just going off ones in the past, like obviously like your Tito Ortiz and Ken Shamrock. You've had like Rashad and Rampage had like a beef for a while. There was the whole Jones and Cormier rivalry, but we just don't get those too often, and I think that in itself will be more intriguing.
Yeah.
Hamzat fixes cardio. I don't think he loses this one. Rooting for both. There we go. He's gassing at the end big time by Hamzat. We'll see. Do you guys think they could do another co-main event? No. This is what I mean. They're going to just leave it as is.
Yeah.
I think. This is the UFC. Again, they're taking advantage of the fan base.
Yep. That card's only 6 weeks away, 7 weeks away. It's too soon.
That's what I mean. Gilbert scared him into striking and was smacking him around like a piñata. Same with Usman. I don't think he scared him into anything, but yes, those fights were much closer. I wonder what's going to happen with welterweight. Islam is really injured. Seems like that kind of got brushed to the side. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends when he's ready to come back, and they got to figure out who he's even fighting. That's the big thing, too. I think at this point, if Islam's going to be out for a bit, just do Morales and Gary. Yeah. Problem solved. Whoever wins that gets it.
Yep.
Volkov is a harder fight for Pereira than Gon. Agree or disagree? Smart striker. Tall. I mean, Volkov has a ground game. That's the difference.
Yeah, agree.
Right? So that makes its difference. Amosov Brady would be a good one. Totally agree. Who's next for Amosov? I have a feeling he's getting unranked beats. Like I heard something that Alvarez. Someone posted yesterday that Alvarez is still injured, so I don't think that is the fight.
I feel like he hasn't fought in forever.
Amosov, yeah, no, he hasn't. He's got to fight someone.
And Alvarez too, right? Alvarez has been out for a while.
Yeah, I don't even know who's available. Like, do you give him Wonder Boy? I don't know. Like, what do you do at this point? I'm just trying to think of like guys that are like have some cachet behind them. That would sort of make sense. Imavov doesn't want to fight Hamzat. I assume he wants Strickland to win. Sure, of course. UFC already has a promoter named Dana White. Dana White should be selling the fighters since he's supposed to be his job. Well, he's kind of got a bunch of hats and a bunch of other things like we've seen with,
guys, he has Power Slap to take care of.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's zoom through these only because we've got 3 minutes. Dana's role is primarily ceremonial now. I agree. Yuri and Paulo Costa are Big Ank, Whitaker, which would be the most unexpected of the year. Big Ank Whitaker. I don't think there's any planet that Paulo Costa fights Yuri at this point. Did you see Peter Yan created a meme coin? I did see that. Fighters, stay out of that cryptocurrency business. It never ends well. Look at Hawk Tua. Costa legit has a chance to get a title shot if he beat Azamat. That's true, but I don't see a world where Paulo wins that fight. Am I wrong about this? I just don't see it. I don't know. Anyways, were you surprised Alex signed an 8-fight deal? No, already talked about that. Someone tagged Colby. Yeah, this idiot went on there and said, this worm, James is talking all this, is crying about whatever. It's like, dude, when you criticize something, that's not crying. If I'm like raising my voice and yelling at the screen and I'm doing like a 90s pro wrestling like promo, then maybe you could suggest that. But like mildly critiquing something is not crying about anything. Like we're not allowed to talk about anything. Like people get so sensitive. The funniest part about the new MMA fandom, and I'll just say this, is that the fans will be the first ones to rush to a fighter's DM when they lose and say they suck and you messed up my parlay, but then they're the first ones to get sensitive about any sort of pushback on a fighter. It's crazy to me. It's like, you guys take your own medicine. Like, seriously. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, someone tagged Colby. It was on Twitter. You won't see it. And even if he does, I haven't gotten a Colby interview in like 2 years. Like, I got to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you guys because I'm trying to secure an interview. I try and be as honest as possible. 21-13, letting you know, but don't count Nate out of a fight. I agree. Wyatt is the best. I totally agree. John Jones, Mofstall, Derek Lewis, Pereira, some of the names I know sign an 8-fight deal. That's why they're trying to keep him away from other promotions. Yep. His name is Wyatt. What's up, Jake? You and Jake got to join forces at some point. That would be cool to see you guys.
We've had a little bit of Instagram DMs back and forth. He's a cool guy.
Okay. In fact, you know what I was even thinking is at some point, and this will kind of be my last point. Sorry, guys, if we missed your questions, but we should get, it would be cool sometime, like if we could all coordinate it to get a bunch of us on together and just do like a fun, like maybe even just talk about the YouTube space and like kind of how we make content. It's, I don't know, we could do like, it could be like part informative, part like debating certain topics. I think that would be cool.
If we could get like a round table.
Yeah, and I could get like some media guys on here too. Like I could get like Marcel. I could get Mike Heck on here. Like, you know, it'd be fun to get like a good variety of people to do like a sort of an Avengers of the YouTube community. Although I don't think of myself as an Avenger by any means. Wyatt, this was awesome. Wish we had more time. I got to do an interview here in about a minute, but just let people know anything you got coming up on the channel, any videos you got coming out, anything you did recently, and by all means, everyone on this channel, please go subscribe to Fight Society.
Yeah, guys, do me a favor, subscribe to Fight Society. I mean, I don't have anything specific to shout out. I post a video basically every day and I stream almost every day. So if you need MMA content, I'm your guy.
There we go. And I'm going to be back Monday previewing the Seattle card. Still waiting to see if I'm going to get across the border. I think regardless, Thursday, there shouldn't be anything for UFC Seattle. So I will do a Q&A on that day from my hotel, most likely. Drake Riggs might be joining me for that one because we're actually covering the card together. So just keep tabs on that. Obviously, if I get denied at the border, which hopefully I won't, then I'll be back here. But either way, should be an interesting week coming up for UFC Seattle. So for myself, for Wyatt, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you soon. And thanks so much for tuning in.